How's that? With my water bottle. Good evening and welcome. This is the Half Moon Bay City Council 2017 State of the City Report. We're going to be talking to you a little bit about who we are and what we've done in the past year. And I'd like to start by thanking our wonderful city staff, both full-time permanent and wonderful contract employees that we have. So I'd like to start with Magda Gonzalez, our city manager. Hello, Magda. We have Jessica Blair, our city clerk. John Dowdy, our public works director. I see Danielle Sanderson. She's a management analyst working in Parks and Rec, city manager's office. Sorry about that. Jennifer Acuna, who works in Parks and Rec. She's our newest employee, I think. Let's see, who am I missing? We have Heather Minner, who is our deputy city attorney, who works with our planning department. And we have some council members. We have Deborah Penrose, vice mayor. We have council member Harvey Rarbach. And I think that's it. So I'll move along here. So there we are, the Half Moon Bay City Council. We have two council members who had conflicts this evening, and those are council member Rick Kowalczyk. He's the second from the end there, and in the middle is council member Adam Eisen. So could we have slide, I guess we're on to slide 3. Thank you. Okay, so I'd like to start by talking about the city's efforts to support our strategic elements of our strategic plan. And these were sort of things that we talked about at our retreat back in February and March. And the first one is our healthy communities and public safety element. And these two elements are linked together because public safety is a major contributor to making sure that we have a healthy community. In that crucial area of public safety, the city was able to increase the number of our sheriff's deputies from part-time to full-time to offer a more consistent and visible presence in the community. And the deputies have maintained a faster than average response time and visible presence in our community. Excuse me, a faster than average response time for emergency calls. There were fewer of the so-called Part 1 crimes: murder, rape, robbery, assault, burglary, theft, auto theft, arson. 37 arrests, down from 50 the previous year. So we remain a relatively safe community, and we should be happy and proud about that. Slide 4, okay. There are many other initiatives that contribute to healthy communities. For example, we made significant progress on our bicycle and pedestrian master plan. A lot of public input went into the draft recommendations for projects, studies, and programs, which were presented in early November, and the final recommendations are being formulated now. The city also secured a grant of more than $1 million to help fund the Poplar Complete Streets project, which will make it easier for folks, especially in our senior living facilities, to go from housing on Main Street down Poplar Street to the beach. So this is a really excellent project. $1 million won't cover everything, but it's a great start. And we also, talking about Poplar Beach, we've installed, slide 5, recycling and garbage containers. And pretty soon we're going to be installing solar-powered trash compactors in the parking lot at the entrance to Poplar Beach. Also, the city is partnering with the Half Moon Bay History Association to develop a history museum at the historic jail building, which is pretty exciting, and to explore later development of a larger museum at the barn on the same property. Many of you are very interested in the update of our local coastal land use plan, which has kind of been in the work for years, but recently in the past year, thanks to staff, we've been able to speed up that process. And we've made comprehensive revisions to the coastal access and recreation elements, element, the cultural resources, coastal hazards element, and to the element for scenic and visual resources. We hope to get this complete by the end of the next calendar year. And last but certainly not least, we're on schedule to complete construction of the new library and open it to the public in early summer of 2018. Right now it's on time and under budget. A library is a key part of our healthy community, and it will have rooms and services for all members of our community, kids to our seniors. And we have a video, a time-lapse video for you. Some of you may have seen it at the council meeting last night. We're making great progress. It's unbelievable, really. And we also have a live webcam that you can check on the city's website to watch the progress. I think it's the most exciting project we have going on in our community. Okay. So the efforts that we've made in the past year on behalf of the community are due to the city's fiscal stability and sustainability after many years of downturn. And while we're ever watchful for circumstances that might affect our budget, I'm pleased to say that our finances are in pretty good shape, and it's enabled us to move forward with many of these projects. Not just from our own resources, but we've also been able to hire a grants administrator who's working on leveraging outside funds. Most recently, last night, we announced that we've launched opengov.com on the city's website. It's an online platform that provides user-friendly access to the city's financial information. And you can actually manipulate the data on there to get certain data products that you'd like to see and test out various assumptions. And it's part of our commitment to foster accountability, integrity, openness, fiscal responsibility, and public engagement. And hopefully we'll be making even more progress on our web portal in that vein in the coming year. As it relates to our fiscal performance, we're very proud to have received 4 different awards of excellence for our budget and financial reports. We've received awards from the Government Finance Officers Association and the California Society of Municipal Finance Officers. I see that Yulia Carter, our finance director, is here. Yulia deserves a lot of credit for this, and she's brought a lot of financial skills, but also savvy common sense judgment, and working with our city manager has been able to really turn around a fairly gray situation in the last 3 years. So thank you, Yulia. Half Moon Bay is the first city in San Mateo County to receive an award for our popular annual financial report, which is a summarized report intended for the widest possible audience. So we're hoping you'll go on to OpenGov and take a look at what we have, and if you have input about things you think could be presented more in a more user-friendly manner, let us know. We're always open to improvements and recommendations from citizens. Okay, so moving on to slide 12, short-term rentals. While the city does not yet have a short-term rental ordinance, we have been working with a contractor to manage transient occupancy tax filings by the folks who are already doing Airbnb. And we've started collecting funds, and we're working to even increase the return from other folks doing Airbnb. And I think we're anticipating in the coming year, especially during our retreat, to visit an ordinance, especially now that the county has sort of blazed a path for us. And we'll try to integrate what we're doing with what they're doing. As you know, TOT is a very important revenue source for the city. The Ritz alone, I think, provides $3 million, is it? $3 or $4 million of revenue a year? It's a lot. TOT represents a lot of our revenue. So we've been talking about moving forward with some economic development and hopefully branch out, put some more legs in our economic stool. Another area of success for the city this past year is around projects related to our community infrastructure, to the environment, and to risk management. As I already mentioned, we have the new library under construction, and we're making significant progress. We collaborated with the Boys and Girls Club and opened the new skate park next to the Ted Adcock for our community's youth. And we've completed some much needed upgrades to the Ted Adcock Community Center, as you've probably have seen if you've been attending meetings. We've really spruced it up. We've improved the meeting room setting. The space is more usable. And we've done it with a really reasonable amount of expenditures. So we've been very careful about that. We just negotiated a new 10-year solid waste contract, an agreement with Republic Services. And what's very special about this is for the first time we're going to have a residential food scrap collection program. And we're going to be phasing in that program between now and April. Originally we were going to phase it in January, but with the holidays and everything, with having to get new containers and educate staff and set up our own internal program to manage it. It's taking a little bit longer, but the public has been asking for residential food scrap collection. It was one of the things I heard most when I was going door to door during my campaign. So this is a really good thing and will aid to our sustainability. Sidewalks has been a big issue, as you know, and we've developed a framework for a sidewalk repair policy, which will finalize and then identify the most critical sidewalk locations. We've actually spent a lot of time and resources fixing the most serious problems with sidewalks, and I think that has made a big difference in our neighborhoods as well as in public places like downtown. As I mentioned before, we've contracted with a professional grant writer to help us leverage more outside funds for capital projects. Important for our risk management, the city hired Shoot Mahaly and Weinberger as our new city attorney. We have a team of 3 very skilled attorneys. We have Catherine Engberg, who's our city attorney. We have Heather, who you met this evening, as our deputy, and Fran Layton, who will be working on litigation issues. The city has established a risk management committee and meets twice yearly to discuss claim data and develop ideas for further reducing our risk, legally, financially, et cetera. The city has gone from basically 46% compliance on claim data to 92 in 2 years. So that's another testament to our finance department and our management staff. We're making headway on the environmental and planning documents for the Highway 1 Safety and Operational Improvements Project, with construction on one segment anticipated to begin in the summer or fall of 2018. Those 2 projects are the Highway 1 North project, which will go from Main Street almost to Grand Boulevard, and will involve a traffic signal and some widening along with trail on the east side of Highway 1. The other project is signalization at where Main Street enters Highway 1 in the south, which will greatly improve safety, but it'll also, I think, help funnel people into our downtown area. We'll have signage pointing to downtown. People will pause at the light. Hopefully it'll, aid in our economic development. I want to spotlight the issue of climate change and sea level rise. You may have been following what the county has been doing very aggressively. The county, as you know, is probably the county in the state of California which will likely experience the greatest fiscal impact from sea level rise, to the tune right now, based on current dollars, of about $24 billion. So they've been very aggressive at doing vulnerability assessments on the coast side and on the bay side to try to, it's a framework for developing policies for, residential and commercial development, retreat, in Foster City, the construction of levees, and mainly to protect San Francisco International Airport. As you know, it's built over the bay on levees, and those levees will probably have to have some sort of bulwark on the outside to hold back the bay. So we've been working with the county, and we collaborated with the county on the Shrinking Shores Sea Level Rise Demonstration Project earlier this year, which illustrated for the public the anticipated sea level rise at different locations on the beach and on the bluffs. And the city has also completed a sea level rise vulnerability assessment, thanks to grants from the Coastal Commission and the Ocean Protection Council, which will inform the general plan and the local coastal program. And we're already generating maps to show the most impacted areas and potential risks, helping us define future policy direction in the local coastal program update, and a series of discrete recommended actions to deal with sea level rise. We don't know exactly when it's going to hit. Some say 2030, 2050, 2100, but if the glaciers melt, who knows? So we want to be prepared, and that's important to us. We all highly value our coastal trail as a wonderful local resource. We took a big step forward toward its protection from erosion by producing a report entitled Half Moon Bay Coastal Trail, Existing Conditions and Trail Planning Recommendations, which are going to guide us on several projects that are going to address erosion on the bluffs and potentially, in the longer term, moving back the route of the trail to accommodate future erosion. The erosion, as you know, is happening pretty quickly, in many places 3 to 4 feet a year. And you've probably seen that in the Seymour Channel. And that's another project we've completed, is shoring that up with some erosion control measures. We anticipated there might be a rainy winter. So far, nothing, but at least we're prepared when it hits. And as you've seen from recent storms this year and last year, storms are more intense. They're going to be of shorter but more intense duration under climate change scenarios as currently predicted. So we're going to be looking at this closely all along our shoreline within the city limits. The city accomplished a lot around how we provide recreation services to our community. We established a new Recreation and Community Services Division and created and filled appointments for the new Parks and Rec Commission. We previously had only a Parks and Rec Committee that would meet and talk mostly about programs for our youth. They now have been moved into official commission status, advisory to the City Council, and we'll be hearing more from them in the current year on both our Parks and Rec Master Plan and the Trails Plan, Bike and Pedestrian Master Plan. The number of recreation offerings to the community has been increased. You may have seen our guide, and the number of community members participating in the program has also gone up. This past year, we've done some really strong work in the area of transparency and inclusive governance, reaching all parts of our community, working to get people engaged and involved in the community, and ensuring we're providing the kinds of services that they really need. Thanks to our city manager and staff, our Community Academy, the NET program, continues to grow with 2 more sessions completed, 1 in English and 1 entirely in Spanish. We've worked with the sheriff to host weekly meetings with local at-risk women focused on women's empowerment. We've launched a brand new city website. This is a fairly recent development with improved ease of access for the public and including lots of resources in Spanish. We created a new online portal for Public Records Act requests. And we've, in addition, we'll be providing access on that website for the paper files and documents that we're currently going through and archiving. We have hundreds and hundreds of boxes of documents that we're trying to bring online, make them accounted for, make them available to the public. It's a big job. We've had 2 temporary staff to accomplish this, and they will be continuing their work in 2018. We've held numerous town hall workshops and community meetings related to the very real issues faced by our immigrant community and help provide them with necessary information and resources. And we will continue to develop this service in our community and keep an eye on what's happening at the federal government level. The state has undertaken some protective actions in the form of legislation in recent months, which helps, but no one knows when ICE might show up. So we're going to continue to collaborate with the community and keep an eye on things. To be sure that we're reaching our Spanish-speaking community, we've taken a number of very positive steps, such as hiring additional bilingual and diverse staff, better reflecting the city's population, and we'll continue to do so. We're ensuring that the sheriff's deputies employed via the city's contract are bilingual. We're offering live Spanish translation at city council meetings and at a number of other community information meetings and workshops. We're offering a bilingual weekly email newsletter and bilingual quarterly hard copy newsletter. We're making the city's recreation guide fully bilingual and seeking out instructors to provide bilingual programming. We're posting bilingual summarized budget data on the city website. If you've had a chance to, if you have a chance to go on OpenGov portal, there is definitely instructions on there for the Spanish-speaking community. We got a view of that last night, and that's very exciting. And we have other bilingual components on the website, too numerous to mention, actually. And we're continuing community efforts with the sheriff's deputies with a focus on underserved populations. We were just awarded the Civic Engagement Award from Local Government Hispanic Network for our efforts in diversity and outreach with our Spanish-speaking community. That award was brought home by our city manager, Magda Gonzalez, and our deputy, Matt Chittister, and it's really beautiful. We introduced that at our last council meeting. In the area of homelessness and affordable housing, we're making progress. As you know, we're not going to solve the problem, but we're going to do our part to make a difference in our own community. We held a special meeting on homelessness in October with a number of other agencies to look at how we can take collaborative action. We're developing a plan right now for assisting the homeless living in encampments and removing the creek encampment behind Strawflower Village to address some public health and safety issues there. We see it as a part of our risk management. There are legal agreements that restrict the use of those properties. So we're taking it slowly. We're going to be doing it through a very careful process with plenty of outreach and working with the affected populations. We've prioritized collaboration between the city and county through the homeless outreach team, which is called the HOT team, to evaluate and provide services for the homeless. And that is actually taking up quite a bit of staff time. We have staff that have become quite fluent in the issues of homelessness as well as affordable housing. On the issue of affordable housing, the city received a Home for All community engagement grant to support the city in developing new kinds of thoughtful and collaborative community discussions around affordable housing. As you know, housing in this community is always controversial, whether it's market rate housing or affordable housing. It's controversial where we locate it, how much, its impacts on traffic. So we're going to be having discussions in this community about how can we address this problem and do it in a way that serves the community and addresses the issues raised by the people who live here. The city is processing permits for accessory dwelling units, making it easier for folks to add what we call a granny unit behind existing homes to accommodate single people or maybe a couple. The goal is just to make it as easy as possible so that it's economically feasible for folks. We will be, not only helping get them built, but we'll be monitoring their use to make sure that they remain affordable. We've been working on our housing element, which is part of the general plan. It's been approved, the most recent version, and certified by the state. So it's in place and serving as a general roadmap about how we can meet the housing needs of all people within our community with a respect to all the potential environmental impacts in our neighborhoods. With all of this in mind, I hope you'll agree that the city has made a lot of progress on important issues in a lot of different areas this year. We actually have, I think, 34 full-time employees. Not all those positions are filled, but the employees that we have are carrying heavy workloads. I mean, we've only been able to make the progress that we have with everybody working very hard and working long hours. So we need to be appreciative of staff. I know I am, I know the council is. And every day they're putting their heads together to find creative ways that we can leverage the existing resources we have to creatively solve our problems. So I hope you'll take pride in our accomplishments as much as we do. And I thank you all for being here this evening and happy to answer any questions you might have. So, Chad. Mm-hmm. Well, Mr. Dowdy, our Public Works Director, could answer that too, but I will say that a subcommittee of the council for the last couple of years has looked closely at this, and the council had several meetings. We did outreach with the neighborhoods, and the big concern of the neighborhoods in that area, in Terrace and Grandview, was the ability to make a left turn, a safe left turn on the highway. So the idea of continuing 4 lanes north of there became a problem for folks wanting to make left turns. Certainly the light's going to help there, but working with folks, we identified that as the key problem. So that's why the widening is going to taper off just before it gets to, is it Grant? Sorry? Yes. The final maps were approved for the Pacific Ridge development, which is a housing development that's east of Terrace Avenue. And we will, what's the word, accept the letter of credit? Call the letter of credit for the funds that are needed to signalize the intersection and make sufficient improvements to accommodate the new growth. John, would you like to address that?
The issue we're having is that this is tied to funding that was approved by the Prince County Transportation Authority. They have a condition on those that require environmental review to be complete, the social development must be issued, and we issued one with the letter of credit to see with that. We're working on the environmental process. We're working on the hoping and planning for that will come in winter time after the first of the year. And with that, then we're hopeful that we can get a funding agreement in place. And the construction really in earnest looking at 2019.
And is part of that project, or is it just a associated project of continuing the trail that will be built as part of this project north to, I think it's Spindrift and Sea Haven? Ultimately, yeah. So, road improvements, trail improvements, to make it easier for the folks on the east side to travel south, basically. Connect with downtown, connect with the shopping centers. Does that satisfactorily answer your question? Yeah.
Well, if I could just say, one of the challenges always about this public project, any public works project getting equal to $1 million in value is directly available to the citizens. So part of our effort, the last time that project went forward with environmental, it was a field that had to go back and pool and rework through the community process. So that's part of the challenge, is that if we don't take our time and do it right the first, I'll call it the right second time, it will go directly to the building commission have to delay it quicker than actually there than waiting and doing it. It's a challenge.
Any other questions? Well, seeing and hearing none, I invite you to enjoy some refreshments in the back of the room, and happy to talk with you informally. Thank you.